Good evening. My name is Lisa, and I'm here to give my traumatic explanation summary. I understand that you have been through a great deal of physical and emotional pain and suffering through your experience of domestic violence. This is something that you have experienced as a child when your father was abusive to your mother, and then you experience it again as an adult when your husband was abusive to you. The first and probably the most important thing I want to say is that I want to assure you that this is not your fault, that this has happened. Domestic violence is a situation that can occur to anyone, any background, and you are not alone of having this experience. According to research studies, about 1 out of every 3 women and 1 out of every 10 men in the United States will experience domestic violence. Domestic violence is also known as intimate partner violence. As a child, you witnessed intimate partner violence occurring to your mother. This was a traumatic situation that must have been terrifying and would have disrupted your experiences as an adult. For example, it made you feel that you could not trust adults, especially men. That you have told me that this mistrust has impacted you in the present as well. As a child, you experienced fearfulness and anxiety as you felt that you constantly had to be on your guard, worrying that your father would harm your mother and perhaps even kill her. The worries were not only limited to your mother, because you stated that you were also frightened of violence that might be visited upon you and your siblings. The household that you grew up in was filled with secrets and with a feeling of foreboding, because you never knew what would set off the next cycle of violence. Children who witness intimate partner violence between their parents are at special risk for many internalizing and externalizing adjustment problems. They frequently are secretive and isolated feeling because you are not allowed to talk to anybody about your abusive situation. Research shows that children from homes where there is domestic violence feel vulnerable, and they are in need of positive display of affection, approval, and attention, according to the Domestic Violence Roundtable. The feeling of neediness that you grew up with would have still be present when you met your ex-husband. And when you married him. You were starved for love and affection and attention from someone. Although you have indicated to me that you now blame yourself for having not seen the signs that he was an abuser. The truth is that his behaviors were familiar to you because you were used to them from the family situation you grew up in. The trauma that you experienced as a child and now as an adult has left you feeling of low self-esteem, anxiety, and hopelessness. You have indicated to me many times that when you when someone is angry, you Even if it's not at you, you become paralyzed with fear and feel out as though you're shrinking into yourself. You can hear your father and your ex-husband angry voices, and you physically feel the locations where you have been struck by your ex-husband. This is constant with post-traumatic stress disorder and is common with people who have witnessed and or been victims of domestic violence. The most important thing that you can do this very instant is to be gentle with yourself. Recovering from domestic violence is not something that can happen overnight. You made excellent steps in deciding to get therapy. There are many ways to treat trauma that has arisen from witnessing or experiencing domestic violence, and we will see what is best fit for you. One thing, though, that I would like for us to start with is simply having you aware of what experiences set you off, and journal about the actions that took place, feeling that you have had, and the feeling that you could imagine you would have had if you had not experienced trauma. In other words, what you think that normal would be. This will pave the way for us to discuss how to bridge the gap and find tendencies that you have towards repeating these cycles. Often when light is shed upon cycled behaviors, then we can change those behaviors to be healthier and make us feel more positive. None of the challenges that you are facing can be conquered through blaming yourself. And once again, I want to commend you and I want to stress that I celebrate you and your courage to coming to get therapy to help you change your experience and your future. That is all today. Thank you and have a good evening.